June 14th, 2019. 10 days ago, 68-year-old Sean Hawthorne was murdered in his bedroom in the middle of the afternoon. Sean wasn't married at the time of the murder, and he was home alone when someone or several people broke into his home. Sean was a multi-millionaire, and his safe was empty. Jack asked around, but no one was sure what had been in the safe. Sean had been stabbed 6 times while he was tied to a chair. Detective Jack Leon thought that the stabbing was done to torture Sean into revealing the combination to the safe. The forensic team had found the DNA and fingerprints of several people throughout the house. It turned out that Sean Hawthorne had just moved into the house less than 2 weeks ago, and he had hired a team of 3 college students to do the moving. The movers were tracked down, and they voluntarily gave their DNA and fingerprints. They were matched to some of the fingerprints and DNA found in the house.
Well, that makes sense.
Jack thought.
Obviously, the movers would have left fingerprints on the furniture they moved. They probably left sweat on the furniture as well. Maybe even bled somewhere in the house.
Jack also didn't forget that there were other fingerprints and DNA found at the crime scene that didn't belong to the 3 movers. The identities of those people were still a mystery, and they could be the killer. But Jack had run out of leads, so he decided to bring in the movers to see if they knew anything. Jack went into the interrogation room where Andy Smith, Jason Chambers, and Taylor Musgraves were sitting.
All right, gentlemen, I just want to be clear. You don't have to talk to me. If you want a lawyer, get one.
Hey, it's fine. We got nothing to hide.
Andy said.
I'm sure you don't. But I have to follow up on every lead, and all your fingerprints and DNA were found at the crime scene.
Well, that's because we moved.
Jack put up his hand to cut off Andy.
I understand why we found your fingerprints and DNA inside the house. But if I didn't question people whose fingerprints and DNA were found all over a crime scene, well, that would make me a terrible detective.
The young men smiled uneasily.
It's no problem, sir.
Andy said. Jack quickly figured out he was the leader of the group.
All right, let's start off with an easy one. Where were you guys on the afternoon of the murder?
Oh, we were out of town. We took a trip to see New York City.
Andy responded.
Oh, yeah? Well, why did you go to New York?
Our friend is living there. We decided to go visit him.
Jason said. Jack was just beginning to wonder if the other 2 young men talked.
And this friend of yours will verify your story?
Sure.
Taylor spoke up this time.
His name's Josh McMillan.
Taylor then gave Jack Josh's email address and phone number.
Okay, I'll follow up on this. What did you guys do in New York City?
Well, we all did different things.
Taylor replied.
Why would you do that?
Jack asked.
We all have different interests and hobbies, and we weren't in the city for very long, so we all went our separate ways.
Taylor said.
Fair enough.
Jack responded.
All right, Taylor, what did you do while you were in New York?
I went to the Whitney Museum of American Art.
Did you see any interesting exhibits?
Yeah, there was some collection of paintings from the 1960s and 70s. I can't remember what the exhibit was called, but it was cool.
Well, how about you, Andy? What'd you do?
Jack asked.
I caught a baseball game. The Yankees were playing the Blue Jays.
And who won?
The Jays. If I remember correctly, the score was 4-3.
Okay. And what did you do on your day in New York, Jason?
I did this really cool tour of the city where they take you to famous movie and TV locations in New York. It's called When Harry Met Seinfeld. It was awesome. If you're ever in New York, you should check it out.
Jack nodded his head and took a good long look at the young men.
Now, do you guys have any receipts or ticket stubs to show that you were at all these places?
No?
No.
Okay, what about train or bus tickets?
No.
Andy replied.
We drove down and paid in cash for all the gas.
Well, do you have any debit or credit card receipts from places like convenience stores or restaurants to prove you made the trip?
No. We just used our tip money from our moving jobs. That was the idea. Just spend whatever money we had saved up from tips.
Andy said. Jack nodded his head. Although they couldn't prove their alibis, the 3 young men's stories seemed valid. Jack had heard some outrageous lies in his days as a detective, and these stories were all plausible. It was part of Jack's job to know when someone was lying, and these guys didn't seem like they were lying.
All right, guys, I'm just gonna call your friend and check your alibis. You guys sit tight.
Jack got up, walked back to his desk, and called the number Taylor gave him. It had a 917 area code, which is the area code for New York City. He talked to Josh McMillan, and he confirmed that he knew Taylor, Andy, and Jason. Josh said he used to move furniture with them. He said that they were in New York on the day of the murder. Josh said he didn't join them on their excursions because he had to work. Jack thanked Josh for his time and then hung up. Then, on a hunch, Jack decided to do some Google searches. When he was done, he sighed. He was going to have to make an arrest. Who does Jack arrest, and why?
Thanks a lot for watching today's video. We'll have the answer to this video next Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. An hour later, we'll have a brand new mystery. Thanks again for watching, and good luck with your investigation.